You're tuned into the show that informs, entertains, inspires, and promotes motorsports everywhere.
Welcome to Winning Wednesday on Northwest Race Report.
Tonight's show is brought to you by
Miller Kitchen and Bath, Bailey General Contractors, Myers Floor Covering, Welch's Gun Shop, and Flaming Pig Barbecue.
and by the Wenatchee Valley Super Oval, and by Leonard Evans Used Car Superstore, and by Product41.com, Atomic Screen Printing, and by BLG Blue Line Graphics. Be unique, stand out, get noticed. www.blg.blue. And now, back to your horsepower performance hosts, Terry Bridges and Glenn Lippy Tower. Oh, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Northwest Race Report. Tonight, we have got the show of shows. We're going to try something new tonight. And but first of all, I'm your horsepower performance host, Terry Bridges. Sitting in with me, my main man, the loader, Mr. Jeffrey Eden. What's going on, loader?
Got my lawn mowed today.
You did?
Man, it was getting too tall. I
thought you were going to say it was too much heat.
It was something like that.
What a beautiful day to mow your grass, though.
Yes, it was. It was great.
What did you get today? 53. 54 or something?
53, 54, somewhere in there.
Rusty Roswell, Mike Hunt. Oh, hey, I'm your horsepower performance host, One Shoe, Terry Bridges.
And for all of you that never heard, One Shoe turned 57 the other day.
Yeah, and I got to say to all of you guys, what's up, Sandy Allen, Kimberly Dean, Carrie Hopkins? Thank you so much for the wonderful thoughts and birthday wishes, and it was just truly overwhelming to know that I didn't know that many people loved me. Jeff, don't.
I wouldn't burst your bubble today.
It was really, but it is, well, even, when's your birthday?
Long time from now.
It's just amazing that, for me, that everybody took the time to, everybody's busy, man. And I know it seems like, oh, yeah, it's just, you just, type in, hey, happy birthday. But, man, it really means a lot that people, oh, hey, speaking of beautiful people, you are definitely one. It just amazes me that, you add up all those, that's a lot of time out of people's day, right? There's a lot of life going on. So it was really cool to me. Yeah, right. 50. Maybe plus 10, right? I'm not going to go there.
I'm not saying a word about that.
All I know is he's probably got both shoes.
Chances are, yes.
Tonight, Lagunitas Lucky 13. If you get a chance to try this, it's pretty good. Really good. It's a Mondo Large Red Ale, and I'm going to need it tonight. Tonight, we are going to, excuse me, I'm going to let the loader explain what's going on.
Well, we're going to do a deal called Bear versus Terry, and it's going to be about NASCAR. We're going to have some specific subjects. Each is going to give their opinion on the subject. And if I don't like it, I'm going to tell them I don't like it.
I love it. And so you're probably saying Terry versus Bear. Well, Bear Tomasevich. Those of you that were here last week heard our part 3 of Track Owners and Promoters. So we're going to try this.
Elmer,
Go ahead.
Elmer, that's uncalled for.
76 degrees today. Hey.
Uncalled for.
Yeah, that is uncalled for. But, hey, thanks for the happy birthday wish, Elmo. You're the man. What's up, Chance Freaky, man? You're from Louisiana. You are? Right on, buddy. Man, now that's a fan right there. That's a top fan right there. Watching from Louisiana.
Yeah?
How y'all doing back there? No, they don't talk like that back there.
You don't even do a good one.
Ricky Worley, JP. Look at that. JP Karting right there. And there he is. our main man, Mr. Tomasovich. What is going on?
How are we doing this fine evening at 27 degrees here in Ohio?
Oh, no.
Yeah, there. Mm-hmm.
It was like 54 here, but did you? Hopefully you saw Elmer's post. He puts 76 degrees in Arizona.
Yes. I like some people more than others.
20 degrees in the Tri-Cities. Ooh.
So tonight we are going to try something. Well, the loader told you, but here's how it's going to go. So tonight we are going to talk about NASCAR safety stuff. And I got to tell you, watching the 500, which I got to say, I didn't see much of it. But, Loader, did you see any of the highlights?
Oh, I watched probably a third of it. I would come in. I watched the start. I ventured off.
Tomasovich, what about you?
Yes, I did start watching Sunday. I got back from work. I started watching it when I got home from work, and I watched what kind of transpired through the other 450 miles that was run.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about bump drafting, blocking, spotters, and we're going to talk maybe dirt versus some asphalt kind of thing and whatever. I know which side I have, but first, before we get started, let's do this. It's time for Bridges versus Bear, only on the Northwest Race Report. So here's the deal. We're each going to get 2 minutes. At the end of our 2 minutes, the loader is our moderator. So, he's going to rule with an iron fist. But here is that is our bell. So our time is up with that. So when we're both done, then the loader is going to actually put in his 18 cents.
I was going for 2, but
okay, his 2 cents. And so we need to flip a coin. Who's going to start? Let's see. Bear, Tomasovich. Oh, we're backwards. And then Terry Bridges. See, BT or TB. So Bear gets it.
Yeah.
So Bear gets his first. He's going to go first on, and we're going to be talking about, the safety. Should they be blocking? But mainly tonight we're going to talk about, should they have mirrors and should they have spotters? Bear, you're on.
Absolutely. So the discussion tonight, especially in NASCAR, there's been a lot of talk on social media and across all the forums of sports casting, sports radio, of the big onset of the blocking. A lot of people have been critical of when, especially in the restrictor plate racing and in regular races, people protecting their line in hampering the progress of another car. And you saw it a lot where there would be one line, then there would be 2 lines of racing, especially at Daytona. One line would get a run. The leader would go in front of the other line to block its progress, then come back and forth. The bumpers not lining up, but you also have to remember 190 plus miles an hour on a track, a 31 to 34 degree bank track, with 3,400 pound cars. So my argument tonight and debate against Terry is, yes, we need to keep the spotters, the open communication, the radio headsets, and we need to keep mirrors in the car. I'm basing this on pure safety. The safety of it is we're comparing a little bit to all other forms of racing. Let's compare it to dirt track racing. Dirt track racing, mostly in the upper echelon of racing, Lucas Oil, Word of Outlaw, they race 100 laps. They race on tracks that are only a half mile, 5/8 mile, where in NASCAR we're racing on is up to as big as 2.67 miles At Talladega, as small as 0.498, I think is the smallest track is Bristol. So when we talk about racing and trying to make it better, the reason mirrors were installed was for pitting, not obviously for blocking, but it's used to control that form of racing since it is restrictor plates.
All right.
First and foremost, safety.
Okay.
So, on the flip side of that, Bear, I got to tell you, man, I mean, I can kind of appreciate it, but here's my take. These guys are pros. Now, on the Lucas Oil dirt late models, anything dirt, even go-karts, they're not allowed mirrors. They're barely even allowed spotters. They don't even like you giving them signals when somebody's on their tail. I can remember when I ran my dirt late model, we couldn't give signals. We couldn't have mirrors, and we couldn't have radios. It was a big deal. The length of the track, does it really matter? I mean, I don't know that it does. I mean, now a guy gets a run, you got a spotter saying, hey, you got a guy coming up on the outside, and he can move up and he can block. If he doesn't have any spotter, if he doesn't have any radios, he doesn't have a mirror, he's got to kind of hold his line. He's got to be respectful, because he doesn't really know where everybody is. Now, maybe the safety thing a little bit, but what I'm saying is the dirt late models don't really have any problems with safety. Now, granted, you can say, well, it's a 5/8 versus 2 mile, but I'm not buying it. I mean, it can still be deadly on a 5/8 or a half mile, and you could even argue maybe even worse. I mean, just because they're in such a small arena and things are moving around so quick, I don't know. I say get rid of them. And it doesn't seem to matter anyway, because NASCAR, you give them, they watch and they still don't do anything. Even when there is touching and banging, they don't do anything. So I say get rid of them. That's what I say.
Let's go with bump drafting.
Bump drafting. NASCAR is the fastest sport with that kind of car, with a car that has that much horsepower and weighs that much. F1, half the weight, double the size of the tire. Dirt late models, a lot less, bigger tire also. But in NASCAR, it's all about the driver. They're trying to make the cars equal. So when you put a restrictor plate on that vehicle, you have to rely on 100% handling in your aerodynamics package. So if you can't bump in the draft, you have to check up and you can't get that other run. I do believe allowing in bump drafting to allow the cars to push as hard as you can. I mean, we're taking a lot of the racing out of context in the last 15, 20 years. Yes, we're basing it on safety, but look at how guys would trash other people in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And Dale Earnhardt, God rest his soul, but he bumped, rubbed, nudged, pushed. That's why he was called the Intimidator, because he got under your skin. He moved you out of the way. He deliberately wrecked people. I mean, we saw him deliberately wreck people at Terry Labonte at Bristol, 1997. That's just the way he drove. You saw Jeff Gordon move people out of the way. Rusty Wallace, you saw it. You see it all the time. Let the guys run and bump, beat, bang. We see it in karting all the time also. You take that guy out for 5,000 this week, he's probably going to take you out next week for 10,000. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the sport.
Man,
Well, now hold it. Before you get, I'm just going to say, there's a difference in what you're saying there, Bear, because you take and where those main accidents was where Earnhardt did it, they were on the small track. You're doing 220 miles an hour and somebody kicks your butt, we've seen the example of what can happen.
well, here's what I'm saying. Where do you draw the line? I mean, Bear, you might roll like that, but does it take talent to nudge? Does it take talent to maybe what if you bump them getting in? Where do you draw the line? I mean, we see enough of it, even in the UAS and things in that. You know, people don't learn how to set people up. They don't learn how to, it's your job to get around. If you can't get around, you shouldn't be able to move them. And in God's name, why would you want to bump draft and help the guy in front of you? How does that really help you? I don't know how it does.
What we saw in this latest Daytona 500, and I'm not a professional analyst, it's just basically what I saw. We take Denny Hamlin, it looked like he had the fastest car out there. And in the last 5 laps, we saw Denny Hamlin get passed heavily by Ryan Newman. We saw him get passed by Ryan Blaney. But what he did is he had to push that next car. That 2 cars were faster than one. So he had to lock to him to push him by, then he could slipstream around him. And I felt that that's the nature of the beast on how that passing has to happen with the current aero package, with the spoiler, the downforce, and the limitations with the restrictor plate. So then
I'm taking it. Then you're okay with what maybe happened with Ryan Newman. Where does all that happen? Would any of that happen if none of that crap was allowed? Would he have still gotten turned around and up in the air and now gets T-boned and crushes the car?
And I believe wholeheartedly it is on how the sanctioning body implements how far they're allowed to go. Absolutely, I would never want to see even my worst competitor get hurt to the extent up leading to a fatality. But absolute blessings to Ryan Newman and crew, to the safety crews that got him out of the car as quickly and safely as possible. No, we don't want to see it. Can we lower? Can we shorten that box of what can happen? We talk about safety all the time, about what is allowed in terms of left rearing someone or bumping them, but it's also the nature of the beast of the sport. What limitations? They put restrictor plates on these cars to slow them down, to make them more safe. What are other limitations? When the car tomorrow came out and they made it a better shell, a better roll cage for this, what other limitations do we want to put on this to tell them how to drive? You can't go below the yellow line. You can only bump draft on the straightaways. You can't hit them in the corners. What are we taking away from the sport? Do we need to rely more on safety, or do we need to limit the drivers more on how they drive?
Well, let's just I'll give you my take on that really quick. Was if Ryan would have passed away, you'd seen bump drafting a thing of the past. I'm telling you right now.
I agree.
That was at that point in time, all bets would be off.
But was it and this is totally open dialogue here. I'm not defending or criticizing anybody.
Oh, yes, you are.
Don't start. Don't start. The question out there, if we're gonna debate what happened to Ryan Newman, does the burden or the blame fall on Blaney, or does the blame fall on Ryan? Was he blocking, or was he intentionally taking someone out? Where was the intent? I'm just asking.
The blame to me goes to NASCAR, because I'm going to go back to the point of you have 3 manufacturers now have 3 different bumper designs. The Fords are so round that they can't push straight on. They have to go to the side. This was a Kenny Wallace deal that I watched today, and he explained if you go straight on with them, you're going to put him inside or outside. You have to put the nose to one side or the other to push with the Ford. It's an odd deal. I tell you what, and I think if you want to see a really cool interview, and you know how upbeat Kenny is all the time and always in his smiling mode, this guy I never seen him smile once through the whole thing. He said a deal, and he had a guy there. They were doing an interview, and it's on KSDR.com. And he called what happened with this deal a perfect storm. And it is. He says, like he said, Ryan's less than a football field away from a win. Everybody, like he said, everybody wants to win the Daytona 500. You're going to do what you got to do to get there. It was not Ryan's fault. It wasn't, like he said, it wasn't anybody's fault, but some people almost got hurt awful, awful bad. And someplace along the line, they have to look at that. Cut the bank out of the track or something.
Well, I'm just saying, Bear, you know like I do. You give these guys an inch, and they're going to try to get a foot or 2 foot or 10 feet. I mean, they're going to push the limits until somebody says, look, we're done touching. Okay. I mean, we're just done.
Okay, next topic. I win. Blocking. Blocking. Should blocking be allowed?
You're first, Terry.
Well, that's it. I
love it. Bear's laughing.
I'm gonna say,
spit it out. Come on now. Say many words.
As if you're the leader, you're driving the bus. It's up to everybody else to do what they got to do. Yep. And I'm gonna say, if like Jeff said, if you're a football field away from a W, or you're coming off a turn 4, or you're in the middle of 3 and 4, I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave that one alone. If I'm an official, I want the race to finish with the racers. I don't want a call determining the outcome of the Daytona 500. To me, that's just, it cheapens the whole deal. Now, does that mean I want to see people get hurt? No.
No, go back to the middle of the race. You're blocking in the middle of the race. What's the difference? Whether you block on the last lap or you block in the middle and you take out 20 cars.
I mean, yeah, that one, I'm the jury's out for me on that one. I'm gonna say, if you're leading the thing, you do what you got to do, and everybody else needs to adjust and adapt. That's what I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna pivot quickly here, and this
don't travel.
I'm gonna pivot, and I'm gonna pivot multiple times here because I believe this all correlates to the same thing. And there could be a happy medium. There could be a handshake between myself and Terry that Loader could acknowledge. So here it is. So you take the mirrors away. You have, instead of two-way communication with your spotter and your crew, you use what a lot of race teams in the dirt and the asphalt world use, called a race-ceiver. So it's a one-way communication where an official from NASCAR or a sanctioning body, you could have one person for every team, just like you have one official for everyone on pit road. Now that'll eliminate two things. One, you won't have communication between the crew and the driver. You might have to go back to old hand signals where they put your hand on top of the car for loose and on the side, on the door panel for tight. The second thing, it would eliminate blocking. The way it eliminate blocking, because now you can't see behind you. You don't have that spotter to say, hey, you got a guy coming to your inside. That guy keeps his normal lane. There's a car beside him. He's got to keep his normal lane. Now, it's not going to work that great in restrictor plate racing because you have people going from the high to the bottom. You could until they earn respect. But if you got rid of, just saying, I'm not agreeing. I'm just saying they could work hand in hand by getting rid of blocking with the spotting and the mirrors, and you would increase drivers got problems all the time. You have to come down the pit road. You got to put your hand, just like a cart. When you're slowing down, you put your hand out the window. But that might not solve all the safety situations with pitting and cautions coming out. But it is a thought. It's something. You have 40 cars out there. You have 40 officials that are talking directly to that team, saying, hey, you're black flag. Hey, you got a tire down. Something. It's just a thought.
Here's Bear, and you know what? You're not far off. However, here's what I know. In the regional racing that we have here and this is going to be more suited towards the sprint cart thing that we have, is they use words like avoidable contact, and they used what they've done is none of the officials really understand, to me, the difference between a blatant stuff and a dump versus high speed. You put 25 or 30 guys on an enclosed course going at a high rate of speed, vying for the same piece of real estate. Guess what? There is going to be contact, some of which is going to be severe. But that doesn't always mean that it's a foul. But these guys, you get a little nudge or a little bump or a little tap, and you've got everybody screaming that they want a call. And it's not always a call. And the problem is, a lot of them don't even see it. They just hear. They don't see the start, develop, finish like we talk about. And so they come in the middle of it and they say, did you see it? And they go to the corner workers and did you see it? If you can't see it, you don't know, and nobody knows, guess what? It's a no call. I don't care how bad it is. If you don't see it and nobody else saw it or nobody else can tell you, that's what they tell you all the time when you officiate. If you've got bodies on the floor, or in this case, if you got guys in the fence or spun out in the infield, you damn well better be able to explain how they got there. Otherwise, you've got nothing.
Okay.
Go for it, Ben.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Just to add on to that, the reason NASCAR, in my opinion, got so big so quick was because of the racing that they did have. They had short track, they had big track, they could house 100,000 people, so they got on the big stage a lot quicker. A lot of these other places that dirt races go to didn't have those kind of accommodations. I believe dirt racing is huge in getting bigger, but the thing on NASCAR is they were always the forefront, not in technology. I would say that Formula One is the forefront of technology, but in safety, what they tried to do, going from cars and that you just wore a seat belt and had open helmets to closed face helmets and state of the art roll cages and soft walls and procedures they put in place. Another thing that they have is they have primetime TV. Not only primetime TV, but they have cameras everywhere across every part of the track, in the wall, drones. They have it everywhere. They would have the ability, under caution, to review that situation just like they do in football, baseball, basketball, every ball sport that we have out there, hockey, to determine a goal. I think you have the opportunity to have an instant replay while you're under caution.
Then make the race 20 laps, because this is football. I can't stand it. That's ridiculous. It's human error has got us to where we're at. I mean, you got to make the call. If it's a no call, it's a no call. But if you're going to give, oh my gosh, we had a wreck. Okay, well, who caused it? They're not going to put them to the back like they do in a Saturday night show. Saturday night show, you caused a wreck, you're in the back. Whoever stopped with you is in the back. You get to start over. They don't do this in NASCAR. NASCAR put them people in the back of the pack. They think twice about taking and yarding somebody. That's my whole point on the you're under caution.
Yeah.
If you're under caution, they would have a chance, on a normal 1 mile track, and it's probably their average, one mile and a half super speedway. They would have that extra 40 seconds to make a call. Heck, they make 3 caution laps anyways. It takes them 3 minutes to make a lap. So maybe that is something. On the karting side, and what I'm most familiar with, we've had this big discussion over the last 5 years. I've talked, I've learned, I've witnessed, I've worked with all the big officials, all the big racers, from Mike Dickerson, Phil Schneider, Jamie Wheeler. We've talked about this situation in karting, because
guys were wrecking all the time. Down south, no stop rule. If you stop, you automatically go to the tail. We were trying to make judgment calls to teach people how to drive. We didn't race 52 weeks a year. We barely raced 30 weeks a year. And it took people sometimes 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks to get acclimated back to racing again.
Getting their groove.
We tried it. And so what we came up with in the last couple of years is we can't see everything. We acknowledge that we're human, but we're trying to do a better job of watching everything. So things that we instituted that were better. The flagman, even though he's in charge of the entire race, we're trying to get him to watch first, second, and third. If you can see a wreck develop and throw the caution quick enough, you watch first, second, and third. If it's a 12-cart race, we have a corner worker or someone else watch 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We try to have people watch groups of it. We try it from the infield. We try it from the outside so they can give an opinion if something is blatant, not if something is questionable, if something is blatant. If it's a safety situation, if someone intentionally drove in over the left rear and you could see it. But if it is a questionable call and it's unsure, we still defer to putting the person that stopped or spun to the tail. And that has curbed. That has helped a little bit. But the second part of this problem is starts. It doesn't matter if it's single file or double file. We have starts that bunch up so bad, and it has nothing to do with power, it has nothing to do with tires. It has to do with either 1, 2, or everybody trying to push before you go green, and it just causes problems.
Well, Bear, I agree with you 100%, but let me say this, and I don't know how many drivers' meetings you've been to, and this could be NASCAR, this could be short track late models, but mainly where I've seen it is in karting. And here's the deal. You go to the drivers' meeting, and it's the same old thing. Blah, 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 blah. Welcome, everybody. The green means go. The white means one to go. And blah, blah, blah. Same old crap. They don't say, listen, here's the deal. The front row is going to bring the pace down. If you guys can't do it, and I mean bring it down in a pace that's going to be acceptable, your butt's going back a row or 2 rows or going to the back. And we'll get 2 people up there that are going to do it. Now, the point I'm making is this is your first warning, the driver's meeting. You don't get another warning when you go out there. You know damn good and well when you go out there what was said at the driver's meeting. So if you can't bring them down even Steven or whatever, guess what? Your fanny is going to the back. You already had your warning. You don't deserve another one. And this is what I'm talking about when I say they need to set a precedence. They got corner workers, and everybody's saying, hey, yeah, we got these. Man, you got corner workers that don't know when to throw a yellow. They're standing around scratching their butt. They're not watching what's going on. So now when you do need some help, you don't have any. They need to quit wasting their time on these boring drivers meetings and saying, look, guys, you know what to do. Here's what we do. Hey, if there's something important that needs to be said, absolutely say it. But don't waste their time with the same old, blah, 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 yay, rah, rah, rah. Do away with that and say, let's get our corner workers here. Let's make them understand, listen, this is your area. We need you paying attention. You're important. But that doesn't happen. They just get warm bodies out there, and they don't educate them really. I know it's still going to be hard in a driver's meeting, but if you tell them, listen, guys, you can't be not watching what things are going. You can't be watching over in this corner when this is your area. You're in charge of this. We need you to be in charge of this. They need to make it more important, but they don't. And to me, that's a lot. And then they wonder, then they make their beds and they make a crappy call and they got every parent and every racer up on their back, and then they can't understand why. They kind of go, well, geez, so-and-so lost his mind. It's like, well, what do you expect? You're not setting a precedent. You're not doing what you say. You're just kind of doing whatever. And to me, it's all wrong. I think they need to fix it.
And in karting, I totally agree. It's just sometimes harder to enact or invoke that when it's questionable. If you can't see it, you can't call it. We have corner workers in there who are supposed to watch their area. Sometimes it's hard to find good help. Now you have to pay more people. You have to pay them more money. It used to be people that wanted to come and help support the sport or help donate their time. Now you have to pay people on top of it. So it takes away. It means higher gate fees. It means higher entry fees, stuff like that. So we're trying to invoke more people to watch outside on top. So you have your corner marshals, and you also have people that are watching certain people go around the track, groups of people. Because what's the biggest thing we hear at a go-kart track or a regular track? Didn't you see my son get taken out on lap 22 by the 35? And I used to say, oh yeah, there was a caution. Now I say, no, I didn't, because I was watching the battle between 3rd, 4th, and 5th, not 8th, 9th, and 10th. Well, you should have seen my son. He got spun flat out. If you can't see that, you're blind. So now we have someone watching 10th, 11th, and 12th, or 7th, 8th, and 9th, and we have to go to their judgment. They say, he just got loose. The other guy barreled into him. He goes to the tail. So that's the biggest thing that I hear. Didn't you see my son? Didn't you see my daughter? Didn't you see this person get spun? No, because I'm trying to watch.
But Bear, if you've got 4 corners and you've got 4 corner workers and a flagman and a race director who, in my personal opinion, there is no way any race director can stand at ground level and be a race director. It's freaking impossible. They can tell me they're good and they've got all these. You can't do it. You get straight lined, what looks like a bump, they're 3 feet away. You can't see at ground level. Yet, how many race directors do you see standing there, out of position, making calls? They just guess half the time. They don't know for sure. And that's why you've got 4 corners where you can say, look, you are in charge from halfway down the backstretch to the middle of turn 3 and 4. Now, turn 4 is from the middle of 4 to half track. From start finish into 1 is the turn 1's guy, and from the middle of 2 to the backstretch, in the middle of the backstretch, that's turn 2. Somewhere along there, they're going to see that guy back in 35th. Somebody's got to. I mean, you got 4 corners. If they're all watching their area, they're going to see that hit that 35 did on the 22. They have to.
It's still not that easy when things are going by so quick. And I'll be brutally honest. I'm a race director that stands on the track. The reason I stand on the track is because I want to start the race and I want to line the people back up. And it's very hard with the limited resources that I have. Yes, I wish I had 4 corner workers and a flagger, a transponder person. I only have that at the big races we put on. But to be brutally honest with you, in my opinion, you've been around racing twice as long as me. It's very, and I've spoken with a lot of people. It's very hard to make the call, so we're trying to take the judgment out of it. It's the hardest thing, especially in the pro races. Is that guy in front brake checking, or is the guy behind driving in too deep? That's the hardest calls we have to make right there.
But there's your difference between a blatant dump and a, racing incident, right? I mean, obviously, if it's, I don't know. I guess it is hard. I guess, I've seen, but yet on the flip side, a lot of times all you see is the retaliation. You don't see the mess that caused this guy to end up finally taking care of it. You just don't see it. Usually it's the guy that's retaliating that gets punished. Loader, you're awful quiet. You don't have any opinion?
Nope. I'm not going to start on that one.
Well, I'm just saying. I've watched it enough. Well, I've been doing it long enough where I'm just saying there typically is no precedence set. They say, we're not going to put up with this. We're not going to put up with that. And you know what? They go out there, and what happens? You don't deserve a warning once you've been warned at the driver's meeting. You at that stage, you know better. You know what's going on. And like you said, if you're involved in the mess, you're going to the back. I don't typically like that. So say you're leading. Second and third get together. They spin, and they take out the leader. Now, how is that his fault? But yet he's tied up in that mess, and he's going to the back. Well, he didn't cause it. Everybody knows that, and everybody says, well, it's scoring. It takes so much time. Come on. I mean, no. I'm not buying that one.
Okay, and I'll say that I've done it myself. I've goofed. I've done it. It's usually a scare tactic in a driver's meeting to tell the drivers, we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to do that. And then what happens? Yes, it happens because we didn't see exactly what happened.
So
we weren't paying attention.
So what is that going to tell? What is that going to? Okay, and even if but guess what? If you call it, what is that going to do? They're going to say, "Wow, they are."
As long as you can be consistent, though, that's the biggest problem. We have to be consistent.
Yeah, that's it.
When we make judgment calls, we have to be consistent. If we're making no stop rule calls, here's what I do now. I say we're going to do the best we can to officiate this race as safe and as professional as possible. But if we feel that there is blatant disrespect and a safety problem where you just drove over someone's left rear or hooked them, you are going to the tail. We're doing the best we can to leave it in the hands of the drivers. We've seen some great racing. This past weekend, Liberty Indoor Speedway at Kentucky, the leader of the race, Dalton Lane, got penalized, had to go to the tail. They made a call. I applaud him for making the call. I believe it was for jumbled starts. He was starting fast, slow. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I saw. So they made the call. Usually Run What You Brung is one of the hardest ones to police because the amount of power, the amount of the guys getting on the brakes, doing stuff like that. And we see a lot, especially in bull ring racing, that. But I'm telling you, Terry, in my opinion, it is very hard to make a judgment call if you can't distinguish between someone trying to block and someone trying to overdrive.
And you know what? And you know what? And I will agree with that. So sometimes that's where you don't open a can of worms. And you don't make a call. If they want to be foolish and stupid and play games, then let them pay the price.
Can I address a couple of the comments on here? All the respect to these people. Dave Chisholm, what's not right? We charge the person or persons responsible for the caution, not the innocent.
So when I said second and third get together, and they second and third get together, boom, and you see that mess, and the guy, and they spin into the back of the leader and turn him.
What if we can't see it? What if a situation where we can't see it? I've had situations where tracks have been very dusty, and from my vantage point, it looks like second place and third place, they overdrove, and they drove into the back of the first place, or it looked like the first place guy was getting out of shape. He got on the binders, and second and third couldn't check up quick enough.
So now are you saying that you as a race director are the only guy looking at that?
No, but I'm like you said before, there's multiple different people looking at it. The flagman sees it something from the flag stand, the corner worker from turn 4. How do you do that when you have conflicting stories? Does one person make a call, or do you do the no stop?
Exactly.
If you stop on the track, you go to the tail.
It's exactly. You can't. Everybody has their own opinion of how it happened.
Well,
that's where the can of worms gets opened up. Then that's where all the, and yes. You've got one, like you say, you're the race director, you making your calls. It has to go to you. It can't be the corner worker. Or if you had one, say it's one of the nights you had one over 2. Well, I think. Well, what's I think? That's where.
Well, that's exactly what Bear was saying that you didn't agree with. You said, I'm not for and not that we could get them in go-karts, but you're saying I don't like the replay. You got to have that bit of human error in there. Well, if you got a replay where you could go back and take a peek at it. Remember, perfect example was Riddle's deal. At Hermiston. You were sure at first that Garrett took him out, that Garrett turned him and dumped him. But then after watching the pictures and some of the film, we had, it was a different story. You could say, wow, he did run him down, he did drive him down, and whatever. But I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not. And when I say you got to set a precedence, for example, this is a basic one. This is a simple one that nobody can seem to get. You have a class that's supposed to be on the grid, right? And you say, hey, we need, you do them a favor and you say, we need 206 heavy up here, whatever. And you get everybody up there but the 35 and the 41 and whatever else. And they want to say, hey, can you get on the thing and say, hey, 41, 35, we need you to get up here. No. You leave without them. And guess what? They're only going to get left once. And I guarantee you that will never happen again.
And in the Midwest, we're seeing that more and more. We're spacing out the classes. We announce the classes on social media, on the internet, all over the place, the running order, and you have to pick. If you're running, we try to space everything out. So if a guy's running a champ cart and he's running clone light and clone medium, clone heavy and clone super heavy, we try to space them out. But it's your responsibility to get to the grid. And I applaud a lot of the guys in the Midwest as saying, hey, maybe you can't run 5 classes, because we'll try to move a junior 1 and a junior 2 in between clone light and clone medium, but that's the best we do. You have to be prepared. We give you the lineups weeks in advance of how it's going to run, how it's going to go, practice, qualify, conceits, features. It's up to you to be responsible. You have FM transmitters. Everybody's got radios in their trailers. You got big speakers set up all over the track, and you'll still get that one guy, you never called for us.
Well, what did they do? What did they do in the 40 years prior when there was never an announcer? I can remember when I first started karting back in 79, there was never an announcer there.
Did they have carts then?
Yeah.
You said 1959.
Yeah.
No, it's at 79, but I'm just saying.
I didn't know they had carts.
There was hardly any announcers. There weren't any announcers. And yet everybody could make it to the grid. They knew when they had to be up there. But now, for some reason, you got guys saying, well, nobody announced it. Well, you know what? An announcement is a favor. It's not dyed in the wool that says, guess what? And if they would leave them once, it would never happen again. Because I guarantee you their butts would be up on the grid and they'd be making sure what's going on. So much of this stuff could police itself if they would quit worrying about trying to please everybody. Man, if the guy isn't, I get sometimes you forget and you get busy and all that, but you still got to be up on it. And they say, wow, man, we don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, why are we wasting 5 minutes waiting on this guy? He should have been up here, especially when it's like the second heat or the final or whatever else. By now, he should know, hey, man, I follow 206 heavy or I follow, but still, they don't do it. They'll wait for, hey, we're waiting on the 31. Hey, can you call him again? Hey, can you call him again?
In the Midwest, I have seen it more where you get a 2-lap rule. They give you 2 laps of caution, then they go green whether you're out there or not. We have seen that more, and I give kudos to the tracks like Clay City and J&M and Cedar Creek, those guys, that they give them 2 laps, and they go green. So the policies just have to, we agree upon, all of us, policies have to be enforced, whether it's blocking or no blocking, mirrors or no mirrors, going to the tail if you cause a caution, or making a judgment call. It's up to us to set the precedent to enforce the rules, what they are. There was a lot of tracks that you race back to the line. Now most tracks are racing, you stop when the caution comes out or slow down. So we can all agree that policies have to be enforced, and it starts with the track owners, the track promoters, the race directors, and the officials.
Jeff, let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we just have to have quote unquote, the cojones to be able to do it without butt hurting someone to where we think they're not going to come back to that racetrack and support you.
You know, and frankly, I mean, I don't want to say this because I mean I love all racers, but if you're going to get butthurt over that, I mean, maybe you need to go.
Society has become soft, in my opinion, and that's just the old timer in me talking. I think society's become more entitled and has become soft. That's just an overall opinion.
Yeah, look at baseball. Now we're afraid you might have thrown it out of the strike zone by 2 inches, and the ump called it. So now we're going to have replay in baseball.
Yes, add
Done.
another half hour onto a
Done.
2.5 hour game.
They're already bitching the game's too long. So
Right.
let's make it 3 innings. Whoever wins, call Houston. They'll make it win. And
Jeff, we were just talking about the it's hard to call and it's hard to sometimes, you know, what if this guy and you didn't see it, whatever. How about at Willamette? Okay, no, hang on. Back when we were going, how many times really? I mean, they used to score. They used to score with one person. They used to, you know, and I don't know, Bear, if you've ever been to a Friday night show where they got a sportsman division where there's like 75 or 80 guys show up, right? You know, and there's 30 guys, and there was one guy scoring all of that.
I couldn't fathom that.
And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, when you came up there and you said, hey, you screwed me on this thing, I'm in 8th, and he'd say, no, because on lap 45, you got spun by the 28, and you were down, you know, whatever. I mean, the guy was amazing. And how many times, Jeff, did they give people their spots back?
they didn't.
I know when I ran, there was plenty of times I got turned stupidly or somebody, you know, turned me from the side. Man, I got my spot back. The other guy went to the tail. So,
He even scored Winston West races at Portland by himself.
that's what I'm saying, man. His name was Don Rickard.
He just had a knack for it.
Yeah.
We got off this. We
Well, we didn't really, did we?
Well, what happened to the
That's
2-minute rule?
Okay, wait.
Yeah, you're with
There we go.
It
Okay.
was potluck.
And Steve Sharpley, you're right.
What did Sharpley say? Sharpley says, in NASCAR, a tire rolls out of your pit box, you get a penalty. But if you wreck someone, nothing is done. I will agree with that. How many times have we seen a blatant turn, and they turn and just stuff the guy into the wall? And a lot of it's that retaliation. Kenseth and, was it Logano?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, right?
Martinville.
Right. Everybody knew what that was. How come there's no call?
Well, they called him. I mean, they suspended him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was.
But
Wayne
it
Walden.
Was already past the fact that he was already out of the chase or whatever, and he wasn't. He just knocked Logano out of the chase.
Listen to my mentor, Wayne Walden. He says it all works out in the end.
Well, that comes back to what Bear's been talking about. You dump me in a $5,000 race, what's going to happen at the next one? It all comes out in the end.
And that's where you see more, in my opinion, you see more of a mutual respect because those guys race. And, you know, Jamie Knopf, Austin Yarborough, Colin Mize, Steven Adams, those guys, Shea Chavis, those guys that race 45 weeks a year, that race all those same tracks all the time, you're more apt to see a little bit more give and take because he knows that if I take him out for that 1,000, he's probably going to, if he's quick enough to get to my bumper with the 2,000, he won't hesitate at all. So that's where I've seen the respect being built, just because they're able to race year round outdoors at big tracks, and we'll call them super speedways. The Patriots, the Providences, the Possum Kingdom that's back, GKK. Those tracks are drafting tracks. They're huge. And they're full, wide open all the way around, and that would be considered our Daytona.
Let me ask you something, Bear. Jeff, I want you to chime in on this too. So say you've got a lineup, and you're coming down I saw this last year in Florida. And you're getting ready to start. There's 8 or 10 guys, and they come off of 4, and 5 or 6 guys are spun off the outside of the racetrack before start finish. I mean, it's off of 4, but you got 5 or 6 guys off into the weeds off of turn 4 coming to the green flag. How do you still wave that flag?
Loader, I can tell you how I do it. If it's green flag coming to the start of the race, we automatically yellow it. I'm standing down in 3 or 4, and I'm on the horn with the flagman, and before he even throws the green flag, because we have a start box between this cone and this cone is where the leader's allowed to start, so they don't start in the back stretch, and they don't start 10 feet from the start-finish line. We give them a start box, and if the flagman says it's okay in the start box, he throws the green flag. Now, if they're spinning off a 4, he'll tuck the green flag down and throw the yellow. You'll get one chance at a restart, and that's it.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
So what about the one where you've got 10 to 15 UAS guys? They're all coming, and they're barreling down, and you pull the green back right before start finish because you think it wasn't good enough. They've already passed the box, but you say, nope, I don't like that.
Yeah.
So now you got 20 guys all checking up, and half the field gets dusted because it's like you got to know you're not going to throw it before you don't throw it. You can't. It's not like a 206 thing where everybody can get woed up and checked up. I don't know, man. I think there needs to be a lot more. Just because you think you can wave a flag doesn't mean you're a flagger.
Here's the next. This plays into what a lot of us in the Midwest have been talking about this year. Starts, restarts. Mostly we see the accordion effect. The leader comes down the backstretch. He's going a certain pace. He just lets his foot off the throttle for a split second. What happens? Second lifts, third lifts, now fourth, fifth, through the rest of the field. It's an accordion. They all pile up, and that leader gets a 10-cart length lead at the start. So something we're looking into doing is saying that you cannot touch the cart in front of you on a start. So you have to leave some kind of space, whether we implement, we say a cart length, and it has to be a foot. We're trying to get those starts started so you don't have 15, 20, 25 people hooked together at a start and it have the bigger chance of a caution. We're trying to limit that. We're trying to slow that chance or lower that percentage that there will be a caution.
Right, but the leader should still set the pace. He just needs to pick a pace and stay with it. You can't bring everybody down the backstretch at damn near full song, and then whoa up and turn 3, and then want to slow it. I mean, the pace has to be set early, and it has to carry on all the way down the backstretch. You can't have this.
These racers will test everything that you do. So that I did have to put a gentleman in the Junior 3 to the tail last year. I warned him in the driver's meeting. I said, if I see it, you're going to the tail, and I put him to the tail. So, 1, you have to watch the pace of the field, and 2, what we're going to implement is you have to leave space, because what happens is, wherever in the line, 6 pushes 5th, in the 4th, in the 3rd, in 2nd, gets all whopper-jawed out and goes out of line right before the start. Then they come all the way around, I red flag it, I put them back in line, you got another 1 to go, and you just wasted 3 minutes.
Right. That's as bad as when you leave the grid. They get out on the track. By the time they get to turn 1, nobody can remember where in the hell they were supposed to line up.
And don't get me started on that one, because what I do now is when they get single file, I give them 1 to go. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If you don't know where you started on that start, we're going green.
Jeff, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to go back to what we started with originally on the whole deal with NASCAR. My opinion, mirrors, no. Get rid of them. I don't care. Just driving by a mirror, done with it. That's probably could have almost cost a guy his life. Bump drafting, yes, I still think it has its place. But let's go back to hand signals. Earnhardt used to stick his hand up and wave to the guy behind him to come and get him. that's the kind of thing that they need to get back to.
He used to also do something else out the window.
Yeah, he was not bashful about it. If you're blocking, no big lane changes. If you're going to run from side to side, the game's over. If you're going to run from the wall to the double yellow line back and forth and you get something happens, I'm sorry, it's your fault. And spotters, I think they're a necessary evil. Because without your spotter, when one of these big ones happens, even on a 1.5 mile track, you're asking a lot. Even if you had race receivers,
But you got to hold your line, though. What happened to that?
I have been around the race receiver deal on the dirt. The race receiver only works as good as the guys that are using them. So I would trust my spotter before I trust the guy with the race receiver. I will be honest with you. I won't even go his name, but it was probably the most pathetic thing. The wreck could be already happening, and he'd be off on his other radio talking to his crew, and then he'd get on the race receiver. I used to wear a race receiver, and I was just a pit crew. So I think a spotter's a necessary evil. So that's where I'm ending up on that. And for any of you guys that want to look back,
what about your thing you told me about today?
Just a second.
Early. Okay.
Don't get me.
Oh, I love it.
He's got me mad now.
That's what I was trying to do.
You're successful.
We're just an instigator.
Well, what do you mean, Bear?
That used to. Sorry, Bear. I could send you a picture of my car, and it was called the Instigator. If you look at Newman's car, and I don't know how many people have. There was a deal out today, and they're showing an extra bar below the halo, behind the car, below the halo, that ties into that deal. They call that the Newman bar. Ryan, he actually in 2009 went to NASCAR, and he didn't like the way the halos were built. So he had to go to him and say, guys, we need to put this extra stuff in there. I will tell you, after seeing what I seen of the car, that halo bar saved his life. Because that car was so close to being collapsed completely onto his head that it wasn't funny. Then, why can't we, and this is probably a far-fetched deal, we do it on our automobiles on a daily basis. They all have airbags. Why cannot NASCAR, for especially a high-impact deal where when he hit the wall, the airbag deploys around the driver? Why can't we do this?
Bear?
I am going to
Bear?
get on the horn. I'm going to get on the horn to the France family tomorrow and say,
France won't do you any good. He'll just ask you over for a drink.
Right. Well, maybe during the drink he can give me to the safety team and safety director committee, and maybe we can. That is a great idea. Just like we have fire extinguisher systems that you pull a pin,
yes,
and they automatically extinguish the car because you have enough oxygen in your helmet, or your air box that's in the car to give you pure air, which was another great idea, so you weren't sucking in carbon monoxide fumes all the time. Maybe that is a deal where it can even be triggered remotely, where maybe they don't even see, or in that situation where Newman hit the wall the first time when he turned, maybe he was already knocked out then. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
Maybe someone could trigger that safety airbag restraint system. They could employ it, and then when LaJoie T-boned him, maybe it would have lowered the risk of injury. So that is a great idea. Everything that I've seen NASCAR do has been for safety.
That and
Bear, you're killing me right now.
Just like what Kenny Wallace had to say today on his deal, and he says Earnhardt was one of my best friends, but he says his passing has got our cars to what they are today. None of us wear open face helmets anymore. None of us wear goggles. And the stuff that's being done with the Hans devices and all the other stuff is directly related to senior dying. It's no questions.
It's innovations in F1, in open wheel karting, and even drag racing. You see a lot of, maybe it's a mandate now that they have to wear a Nomex toboggan now. You see Kyle Busch and a lot of those other guys taking that hood off, just because you don't get neck burns and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff is based on safety. I got to say, it was great debate tonight. I appreciate you having me on there. I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers.
None of us do. If we did, we'd be in charge of it all.
But with us talking about it, maybe it opens the eyes or opens the opinions of others not to be so stereotypical or staunch that they are 100% right. We're all right on the ideas that we have. We're all trying to make the sport better, whether it's blocking, bump drafting, side drafting, mirrors. We're all trying to do a better job to make it more competitive. And the one thing it comes down to is respect.
Well, and I think the other word you used, Bear, last week was compromise.
Yes, you have to give and take, but it's hard in this day and age for compromise. It's harder every day. Do you eat a healthy chicken sandwich, or do you eat a double cheese baconator? You have to be able to compromise on things that you do. In winning, it's very hard to compromise on something when our goal is to beat someone to that line.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. I mean, it's,
I think, though, my personal opinion on that is you got to love to compete. Winning is just an added benefit. I mean, winning's a given. You got to love the competition. You got to love to go there. You got to love to be there. You got to love to compete. Winning is just a benefit. And that's what I think.
Well, the picture today that was the winning picture to me was Ryan Newman walking out of the hospital with his two daughters, and one on each side. That was the winning picture. I don't care about who won the race, who did anything else. Watching him walk out of that hospital, other than he didn't have shoes on, so we haven't figured that one out yet. He was in sock feet walking out. Maybe he didn't have no shoes. I don't know, but it come down to the point where, to me, the weekend's now complete because he walked out of there.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
Bear, it's time for Bridges versus Bear. Only you said. You sounded like you're maybe a little sore. What's the matter?
Well, I'm good. Oh, I compromise.
Oh, my God. Matt, I appreciate you very much. Hey, guys, we want to know what your feedback is on tonight's show. And let us know. What are we talking about, Bear? Maybe twice a month?
Yeah, we have a debatable subject, and Terry picked a side of the conversation. We come up with an argument. I come up with a side with an argument. Loader moderated the situation and brought points in on both sides of what was positive, what was negative. We're not saying that either of us supports either that way 100%. We're just trying to debate both sides so the public can think about and digest things that are happening in the racing community, because all this does go back to your local track. It might find its way to NASCAR or Lucas Oil Late Models. Ideas start somewhere, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we're all trying to better things.
That's exactly right. And if Bear calls me an idiot, that's okay.
He knows you.
Yeah, you acted more like a moron, but I love you guys and what you do for the
Well, another show in the books. You are the reason we're here. We hope you'll tune in next week for another Winning Wednesday here on the Northwest Race Report.
The America, but we both have the same passion. We all three have the same passion for what we're trying to do for the sport. It's 11 o'clock out here. I get up in a couple hours and go to work.
I appreciate it. We got to let you go.
You guys pour in all this time and energy into talking about it. No one's right or wrong. But what we're trying to do is make things better. If we can get you to think about a situation and think that maybe there is something else different than just saying, hey, you can't block, or hey, no mirrors. Maybe there's a better idea. Let's go the safety route, like Loader said, with airbags.
Hey,
Thank you guys.
Can you give me some love for Lippy?
Absolutely.
He's not here, but give him a little love.
Thank you, Lippy, we hope you come back Hope when you come back to the show, you can be a part of everything that we got going on. We miss you. Our prayers, our thoughts of everything that you got going on. It takes a very strong man to be able to do everything that's going on that you have, and we know that you'll persevere, and you got great friends here that'll help you through it.
Bear, we love you, man.
Thank you, man.
Okay, buddy.
Later,
we'll
Bear.
talk soon.
Thanks, Loader. Take care.
See ya. Well, another show in the books.
Oh, no.
You
Not
are the
yet.
reason
I
we're
got
here.
something
We
else.
hope you'll tune in next week.
Okay.
Another. We're over. But go ahead.
I don't care. We're over. That's the way it goes. The 6 car will be at Las Vegas this weekend. They are having Ross Chastain drive it, which was kind of an
Who's
odd
the 6? Oh, Newman's?
Newman's car. Ross Chastain normally drives Chevrolet, and now he's going to be in a Ford. So interesting. I had I've been watching this with Wenatchee.
Yep.
The
Yep.
Sizzler coming up.
Yep.
Right now, there's 3 sets of brothers in the pro lates for the.
Riddle and.
No, they ain't even on the list yet.
Okay, so who are the brothers?
Huff Hines.
Okay.
Both of them will be running pro lates.
Ooh.
Havens.
Todd and.
No, not
No,
Todd.
not Todd. Todd's the dad, but
Yeah,
Braden and.
his younger brother.
Wow.
Knutsons.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There'd be 2 Knutsons. We got a father and son team. Want to be running junior late?
Oh, Klein.
Kleins.
And Cash.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Family sport.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I didn't even. Wow.
Practice 1 down at the Bull Ring for their big super late model race. Derek Thorne, does that surprise you?
Nope.
On the top with a 14:38. Tanner Reef with a 14:51. Tyler Fazzo with a 52. Dylan Lupton with 55. Brittany Zamora with a 56. Jimmy Packer with a 56. Kyle Busch with a 56. Austin Tom was down in 19th. There's 26 cars there. Then the second practice, who do you think was on top?
Zamora.
No, Thorne.
Oh.
He ran a 23, so he picked up a ton.
Wow, I guess.
And Jimmy Smith with a 33 and went down to 10th was a 56. BZ was down in 13th with
Ooh.
a 64. And
Wow.
Austin Tom was 14th with a 72.
You know, I'm still trying to figure out how you finish 5th in the K&N West and you don't get a ride back. I'm still baffled on that one.
And another thing, ate at Flamin' Pig Barbecue the other day. I'll tell you what, people, you're in this Olympia area, stop and see them.
Yes.
They are, and the food is great, and tell them you heard it from here.
That's exactly 100% right, man.
Don't forget,
Well, what's that?
Chris Miner's going to be at the Sizzler.
He is. Dude, and I got to tell you really quick, PGP, Gabe Sessler wins 206. Wild Willie wins 206 heavy. And the Rocket, Kieran Rogers, takes the junior class. It was awesome.
That's all I got.
That's all we got. We're out. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we're over.
I'm not.
I'm not either. I'd stay here for another hour if everybody was.
We're here.
You know what? As a matter of fact, do you have time? Do you have time? Do you have time?
For what?
Do you have time?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Not tonight, I don't.
Okay. Maybe we'll do next week. We'll have
We'll be
an
here.
after-hour
If you
show.
like tonight's show or any of our shows, please like and share on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by TerryBridgesRacing.com. Subscribe so you don't miss any of our shows.
Thanks for the birthday wishes. I love you.